Hi guys, so this is going to be the tutorial on Smart Notebook on all the other inbuilt features of Smart Notebook that I showed you before. Hopefully I don't miss any of them. If I do, please let me know and I will endeavour to correct that. Apologies for the delay in this. I had ICT problems, ironically, and I was also travelling. So this is going to be all the features that I've not shown. I've already done a video on GIFs and audio. So if we want to say, look at this slide again that I showed you, it's the slide where we see the different animations of the objects. Now, I got various animations. I had one disappearing, one sliding one way or another. And it's incredibly easy to do. I think some of you can probably work that out. But in case you're not sure, this is how you do it. So you have to make sure that it's selected. Otherwise, it won't come up with this option of object animation, which is what I know someone else had the other day. It will just give you sort of the fill effects, and it won't give you up. So make sure it's selected, and then it will give you all three. And so you simply go to object animation, and for example, I want it to fade out. I often use this one the most because it's the most useful to reveal answers. You can choose when it is, object when clicked. I usually have that because, again, it's the most useful to make it interactive for the children. And when the page is entered, if you can think of occasion for that. And you don't really need to have it repeated because every time you just go back in a slide, it will just reset it. So we just want that object animation. But if you want to have it, say, flying out, you just choose fly out, and then you can choose the directions, the speed, and all those. So it's all quite simple. That's all very similar animations, and all the options are there. So just have a little bit of experiment, and we'll leave it as that one. And so now you see it has disappeared like magic. Okay, so that's the first set of things I'll show you. This was the true and false thing which I showed you. This is one that I thought of myself. I mean, again, you could do this for all of them, and it simply uses the same concepts because you click and it turns green. And the way I've done this is I will show you now. I've simply drawn two objects, and I have, it's clicked circle, I don't want the circle. It always does the circle, and the circle is the most annoying object to actually do, I find, because I'm never expecting how much draw. So you draw the object, and say you want to make that the true box, like we got up here. You make it green with a fill effect, and then you can either put type text in that way, or you can just go, and if you double click on it, you can very vaguely see it. The cursor is there. You can actually type in the object, and you just do a space bar. Make sure you know what the font is, because as you can see from the cursor, it's going to be huge, and then it's still quite big. And you do true. So you type in true, and of course this is going to make it ridiculously big. You can play around with that to your heart's content, in a sense. So we've got a bigger true button because I'm not going to change the font. And now what you do is you simply make sure you're on the selector tool. You want to click out of section by giving the cursor. Control C, or just copy it, and then Control V. This will work on. This is a shortcut that will work for both Windows and Mac. And then you just change, say, the color. So you want to make it grey, or whatever color you want to do. It won't turn text, and then you just copy and paste it over there. And then now you've got your true or false button. Now, of course, it won't do anything, and this is where you just simply do the object animation, and you do click fade out. or an object is clicked. Same principle as the slide before, and then now you see you've got your true button. And you do exactly the same thing for the false button, but with a different colour. And of course, you could do this for, say, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions if you wanted to do a multiple choice on the board, or how many you wanted to do. It is up to you. But it's quite a simple effect, and it gives closed questions for the children to be able to do, and it's quite easily accessible. So that's that one. Okay, so the next thing is the dragging of the right names to the right places. So this is a more complicated one than, well, not more complicated one, but a better looking one than the one I will actually show you how I do it. So for example, we put New Zealand, just to remind you over here, you know it's going to be rejected over here, but it will be the only one that's accepted over here. So this is a lot more complicated version than what I'm going to show you, but I will show you how I did it. So here's the one that I was showing you, odd and even numbers, and what you do, again, show you that it's working. We know that's rejected. On SmartBook 11 onwards, there is this button usually, or something called Activity Builder. And now this means you can select an object, and when the object is selected, you click Edit. Now these are all the things, all the numbers that are accepted here. So I've got all the even numbers, as you can see, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 and 0 accepted in here, and all the odd numbers are rejected. So this is a tool that you'll use to reject, to make things rejected. So you have to make sure you select the object that you want to have, say, accepting certain things and rejecting certain things. So let's have a go at just making a new one together, because I think that's the best way to show it. So let me just do that. Control M. So if you did Control Shift M in Windows or Command Shift M on a MacBook, then that's a quick shortcut as well to make a new slide. You just have to make sure you clicked over here. So for example, let's now draw a couple objects, and we'll have 2 objects, and I don't know what will we have that we want rejected. Let's have vowels and consonants. So A, and we'll not have all the vowels, or we'll not have all the vowels and consonants, but we'll just have A, B, C, D. And so you could put a question down here, which is a vowel, which is a consonant. And of course you can see my dyslexic spelling is fantastic and I don't make any mistakes. And of course this is probably a more complicated question than you'd actually ask children at school, but it's just one I could think of off the top of my head. So what you want to do is make sure you're on the selector tool and select the object, and again you go over to here and you need to be on Activity Builder. On SmartBook 11 you probably only really have the Activity Builder as an option, but on 17 you'll need to just have a look for it, but there's not many options, so you'll probably find it quite easily. And so you click on the object and you click Edit. Now the simple thing you do is, say we want all the consonants in this one and the vowels in that one. We make sure, now this is where you have to make sure they're doing it in separate text boxes because it won't work otherwise. So I need to redo that again. So for example, A, B, C, and E. So we've got those, and we want this one to accept all the consonants, and this one the vowels. So you simply, we select a tool, drag it to the object where you want to be accepted, drag all of them, And if you make a mistake, you can say, for example, I dragged A over there by accident. You just drag it down to that little bin there. And if you've got any left, so all the rest of them are down there, you can just add all remaining. Now notice that it's actually added the other box and the other text, so you just need to make sure that those are in the bin. But it's a quicker way of just adding. If you've got a load of them or quite a few of them, you can just add all remaining and make it much quicker for you. So we've now got that will reject it. And if you go to settings, then you can choose it. Often it will just give you the option of, if it's accepted, you want it fading out. Now, you probably don't want that as an option for children, probably because, well, if they're not sure and they want to refer to it later, whatever you might be using later on in a lesson, fading out just makes it impractical. So a simple snap to center or spin could do it. If you've got more than one, you probably want just a spin. You could have it play sounds, and then you can have it just bounce back if it's wrong. Okay, so we've got that, and let's test it out. This is where it hopefully works for me, because the other day it didn't work for me. Oh, now it's not working for me again. Let me work out why it's not working for me. See if I go back a slide. And if I lock it, if I lock that, will that work? Well, this is where this is what happened to me the other day, and it didn't work. But that is essentially how it should work. I'm not entirely sure why it's not working right now. I will have to investigate that later, but I will move on to other things. That is essentially how you do it, and you just do the same for the other ones. Right, we'll just move on from that. So we have those slides, and we want to move on. So this one is again the idea of just click to appear. Essentially, I just got a map and did them both. So it's quite simple, click to disappear. And of course, if you go back, it will reset. But this little pull tab here, in terms of making this, if you're interested in making these, they're quite easy. I will show you how I did it. And of course, I've also embedded a link to a YouTube video on the continents thing. So you notice you can only pull it across this way. The reason is because you have several options to lock it. You can lock it completely in place like this, which I've locked up here. I can't move that no matter how much I try and move it unless I unlock it. Or you can lock it, say, horizontal, which I found, allow move and rotate, or allow vertical move. So it's how you choose to unlock it. So right now I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to show you how I did this. Now this is actually of two shapes, so I'm going to show you. I made simply two shapes, and I did half a semicircle and a shape. And the same concepts in terms of writing in. I simply double clicked on it. I'm not going to double click on it now because it will open up the link, and that will just be rather annoying. Yep, you would do that. So I'm just going to unremove this link temporarily, this hyperlink. Copy and paste that. So essentially all I did was I made an object like I saw it earlier, and then you just double click and you type in a little message or whatever you want to do, and then you draw the other objects, which you can see up here, semicircles, and I just simply rotated it. I filled it, rotated it using this. and then you just resize it to what you need, but I'm going to leave it. And then you put the little options together as close as you can. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. And then, obviously, I have not deleted that link. And then you group both of them. So you have to make sure they're both clicked. So drag little box, and then you little arrow, click and group. Or you could just do Control G or Command G if you're using Mac, if you want to use a quick shortcut. So now we've got a tab, and we've still got the link. If you want to insert a link, you simply click on the object and then go to Insert Link, paste whatever link you want to put in, and do that. And then if you just want to lock it vertically, you go to the little arrow again, click Lock, and then click whichever option you would like. So we want it to be horizontal, not vertically, I mean. And of course now we can only move it across, but it makes a nice little effect. So that is the next thing. The magnifying glass, I believe you all knew how to do it. So you simply get the magnifying glass, you go to vSearch, you type in magnifying glass, and it'll give you 3 pictures. You usually want the first one, and then you want it to fill in with, say, not a line colour, with a dark colour, and then it should work. But you want to send this and order it and send this to the back so that you see all the lovely text that you need to do, and then you can do close procedure for whatever you would like. So I've got 2 magnifying glasses now. Just delete the other magnifying glass, not the text. And so this one is, again, I've just snapshotted, or I've used a snipping tool, and I went and found the images on the internet. This little activity box is quite good, and of course I cloned this. So if you want to clone things, if you're not sure, you click the image, and then you'll go to Infinite Cloner, and then you can get as many of these as you want. And it's a good way, again, of course, using visual ways to practice times tables, or maybe adding, because you can do it with adding as well if you want to do number bonds 1 to 20, because you can use this operation box to check addition as well. This is the multiplication box, and I will show you that, how you can use the adding one. So if you go to the activity, or the same place where the activity builder was, and you want to make sure all that, you back to the main menu, and you click Smart Blocks. Now this is unfortunately only for Smart Notebook 15 and later, I think, maybe even 16 and later. So if you've got Smart Book 11, unfortunately you don't get these. But you'll see you've got all these sort of very useful boxes. You've even got one that does the by the power of the square roots, and then you can do an unknown operation as well. So that would be quite good for maybe year 6s in terms of testing their knowledge, in terms of trying to use the inverse to work out what they did with the numbers. So you've got the addition, for example, and you simply just drag it to the place. You can resize it, whatever, and then you just get the pen. Now you'll probably find it much easier to do on a whiteboard, and you type the 2 numbers. So for example, 2, and you need to make a line, and you need to make sure the line really sticks on the 2, and make sure your 2 is really clear. So you've got the front end of the operation, and then you'll have the add end. So for example, you want to do 3, and then you make sure you click and draw, and then it does 2 plus 3 equals 5. Very, very simple. You've got all these different blocks. You've got the Numicon slides as well. You can pinch this Numicon slide and use it as any way you think is helpful for your teaching. I think this would be quite a very good, useful lesson, for example, addition for doing number bonds maybe to 10 or number bonds to 20. You could do 10 Wow, not to 20 as easily because you'd have to use 3 numbers, but number 1 to 10 most definitely would be a good option. Okay, and the next slide, again, that's a simple table where I've just cloned and done infinite cloner. I'm not going to go much further into that. This was the one where you basically write all the answers, but cover it up with white paint. So you colour it out, use the eraser to reveal all the answers, and then if you want to recover or cover the answers, you just get the pen and you just change the colour to white, and you might want to make it a bit thicker. You can make it thicker in its well, that's transparency. You can make it thicker when drawing it. I can't quite remember how I do it right now, which is not very good. But you can do that, and it's not too hard. Or you could just use a paintbrush as well. You've got all these options: paintbrush, creative pen, etc., and just make it and colour over it. The smart notebook activity one is again for, I think, 15 beyond, maybe later. And what you'll need for this is, again, you just go to, or you don't even go up to here. You go to, you'll have this option, the Smart Lab, and it'll give you all these different options. And these are like little pre-programmed things in. And this is one is Monster Test, which uses devices. So if you have iPads or other tablets, if you install this program, so I'll show you it quickly. Smart Lab app, and you can get this for both. You can get it for both Android and for MacBook. So for both Android and for Apple iOS. And so this is a site, and then you can just go to simply this site, which is here, Smart Tech Products, and you can just click either here or here, whichever your respective one. It will take you to the links, and then it's quite simple. Once I find a notebook again. You choose the activity. The children's will be given a code. Make sure I'm a selector tool, and it'll give you a nice little code that they need to type in, which they can just type into their code into their iPads or into their Android tablets, and then they'll join these games. And you'll have to set up the questions, etc. But it's quite self-explanatory, and you've got all these different ones that you can use. I think that is about it for everything that I can tell you. I mean, you've got if you've got later versions, you have other things like this. You've got a lesson recorder, which will record the slides that you've done. I'm not entirely sure if it will also record your volume as well in terms of you speaking. You've got GeoGebra, which is probably more likely for, most definitely for upper key stage 2, if not later, most likely later if you're looking at some of the mathematics here. You've got YouTube, so this is meant to be a safe YouTube search. So you will click in it and it's filtered, etc. And you look for whatever you want to look in. And then you can also embed the video into your smart notebook. So for example, I want continents song. And I'll go for the good old faithful one. And it will give you that. And you can't actually fully maximize it, I don't think, which is the problem.
the 7 continents of the world you live on. Let's learn about the continents together as one. The continents we know today were once called Pangaea.
And so you've got that, and then it also gives you a safe image searcher. Again, it's the same concept with YouTube. It'll filter out the adult content or inappropriate content. However, again, everything has its limits, etc. So that's the end of this tutorial on Smart Notebook. This is everything I can think of right now. Any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And again, apologies about the delay. Thank you for watching.